right. Morning, everyone. Just going over my notes to kind of be aware of what we're going over today, and also to kind of give you some chance to kind of get on. So, just kind of looking at the clock and getting things ready. So, all right. And there's a lot of people that are going to be wanting this in a replay, and so I am recording it so that they can have it for replay. So I thought, because it is summer, we're going into summer, I put this wonderful background behind us, and I do believe it's in Yosemite, and I'm hoping to visit there this summer. So I'm looking forward to it. All right. Put things down here. All right. Well, I'll give it just a couple more minutes for people to chime in. We had some issues last week. We had some people try a hard time getting on. So welcome. So I'm just waiting a couple minutes for people to come on. And there's a lot of people that said that this time wasn't good. And so we were also recording it. So lots of people are going to be setting it too. So thanks for joining, Janet.
Hi.
Looks like you have Hussein on. I'm not maybe saying that quite correctly. So great. So again, I'm just kind of waiting for people to kind of come on.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And I'm hoping to use the screen share feature today, so hopefully that will work. I'm trying to get it set up in my background so it will work right. So
hello, can I be heard, or
Pardon
can you
me?
hear me well? Can you hear me well?
I sure can. Yes.
Super, excellent. Hello, how are you? How are you doing?
Good.
Excellent. My name is Hussein.
Yes.
And it was only today that I was browsing through, my inbox, email inbox. And out of all the unopened emails, I just happened to come across the quantum techniques one.
Oh,
and I opened it, and then I saw the title, the why symptoms come back, or likewise.
yes.
And it's one of the questions that I've been going through past couple of days. And I've been reading a book by Dr. Bradley Nelson,
Okay.
Emotion Code.
Yes.
And it very much ties into
Yeah.
hopefully this presentation, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
I'm a body code and emotion code practitioner.
All right.
Oh, wow. Okay, super. Excellent. Wow. Wow.
Small world, huh?
Yes.
The synchronicities. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. I do not have a camera here at the moment on the computer I'm using.
Yes.
So I hope you both don't mind.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I know about Bradley Nelson's book, and we actually had a practitioner that was part of QT for many years that kind of introduced it to us, so we know like the basics, but I'm not a practitioner in that.
I see.
But when we do find out where emotions are in the body and what organs are holding them, that is very much some of that work that Bradley Nelson does. So yeah.
Super. So I'll introduce myself briefly while we wait.
Yes.
I'm from the UK.
Okay.
I live in London, and I work in a college. So I work with a huge number of students. I'm more like, I used to be a teacher, but now I work in a support role. And, yes, helping them in the academic side of things, but I also help them with their personal development, emotional, or more like a quasi counselor, or something similar to that, quasi counselor. And I come across, while I'm interacting with them, I kind of see behind them, into their eyes, and I know they've got lots of instabilities, in their life, whether it's emotional or something else. And I hope I learned so much from you today, in order maybe to and I hope I learn as well from Janet, as she's a body code and emotional code practitioner, to get a few tips from her to see how I can also apply that knowledge to help every human being. That's what we are here for, isn't it?
Good. Well, thanks for introducing yourself. Janet, you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Okay, well, I'm an emotion code and body code practitioner, and I also do EFT and tapas acupressure technique.
Super.
And I've been doing those modalities for about 20 years. I've been doing the body code for about 7 years now. And I'm just grateful to have, and I incorporate some of the things that you do in quantum techniques in my practice as well. And I've got all of your DVDs, and what you do is amazing work. So, yep, I'm just here to help people and to get the word out there, and that there are, other things besides medicine and, drugs and surgery. And seen a lot of amazing things. But yep, I live in Camden, Maine.
Okay, awesome. Great. Well, it's so fun to have everybody from different areas. I just love that. So,
Yeah.
So I'm Jody Colegrove, and I'm a quantum technique practitioner, and I use energy medicine, EFT, and the modality of quantum techniques to help people get their health and happiness back. And so it's neat that we can gather from different sources to help people. So that's really exciting. So I am in Louisiana, but I usually spend my summers in Arizona. But I'm just finishing up a big project here in Louisiana in order to be able to go to Arizona. So I'm this is kind of like the last one before I'm off. So it's kind of nice. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to put you guys on mute just so we have good recording, because there's a lot of people that said they wanted this recording sent to them. So I wanted to be able to honor them with that. Mm-hmm. So if you could put both of yourselves on mute, that would be helpful. Great. Okay. All right, so thank you. All right, so my mission, why do I do this work? So for you to have the freedom to choose your God-given way to take care of your health, and you kind of mentioned that, Janet, I want you to get better sleep, I want you to have better digestion, and I want you to feel happy and joyful. And that's what life is about, is to just be able to be so grateful for what's out there. And that's really kind of only the beginning, because as you work on putting together your mind, body, and spirit, then you have the life that you always desired and that you deserve and richly deserve. And so when you have all that connected, then you no longer feel disconnected. And that's the goal, is to feel not disconnected. So thank you for more people joining. If you could go on mute when you join, and we're just starting to get ready here. So and get jumped on. So thank you for joining us. So basically what I was saying and why I did this webinar is kind of saying, when you look in the mirror and you go, what's wrong with me? Why do I have these symptoms that just keep coming back? And why can't they ever go away? And why do they even show up in the first place? And sometimes that can be kind of daunting, that we kind of live our life and eventually we're like, hey, something's not quite going right, and we want to find out what's going on. So I am going to attempt to share screen, and sometimes it lovely works and sometimes it doesn't. So, okay, let's see here. All right, I'm going to do this one. Okay. All right, can you guys see that? Well, maybe raise your hand if you can. All right, great. So this is kind of what I call our bucket list, okay? And it's not the kind of bucket list we want. This is the one we do not want. So these are our express symptoms. So you'll see a lot of times that we have heart attacks, rashes, hives, anxiety, we have insomnia, so we can't sleep, we have hypertension, we have upset stomach, working with a client right now, there's diarrhea, headaches. Those are all symptoms where it's just like, God, I want to get rid of this. And we're trying to figure out how to do that. And so a lot of times people will call me and they say, okay, yeah, I want to get rid of this. So we start working on finding out, okay, well, why do you have it? Is there a pathogen load? Did you eat something that was bad? And maybe you have an inhalant, so you're not sleeping very well at night. Maybe you got a bug bite like I have here in Louisiana that make the adrenaline start rushing at night. And so it's hard for the anxiety to kind of go down and not have that adrenaline rush and the adrenals in fight or flight. So that's what we find out. But sometimes we get a headache again and we say, okay, well, why do we keep getting it? Or it's in the same place after we've kind of taken care of things. Well, that's where what this bucket starts creating. In other words, not only are we getting rid of the symptom, but we're also trying to lower what's in your toxin bucket or what's causing the symptoms underneath that. So those can be heavy metals, pathogens, food toxins, weak boundaries with people, stress, dental work, anesthesias, medication, vaccines, surgeries, stuck emotions. It could be traumas, blocking beliefs, lack of exercise. The lymph system is backed up and it's not getting your body to detox well. It could be bad nutrition. And neuroplasticity is where the brain is able to have the fluid ability, but if that's stuck, then a lot of times what happens is we want to change, but we can't shift and we can't change. And so that's one of the things we work on. Miasms, in other words, maybe that's something that's been passed down from generation to generation. And that can be something that's physical or it can be a belief also. So inability to detox, that's a really, really big one. A lot of times what happens, and I'll go into that later, is that a lot of times detox is stopped in your body because of an emotional issue. And so when you're able to clear the emotion, then you can get your detox working again. So that's a good example of kind of like why we have symptoms, but also filling the bucket. And it is a dance. In other words, I've worked with my dad a lot on the headaches. And so we're slowly decreasing his bucket so he doesn't have those headaches. And sometimes the body has to be prepared for the detox. So in other words, we really reduced his headaches, but he also had gallstones. And so we needed to do a bladder cleanse in order to get rid of those gallstones, which then lowers his toxicity in his body for his body to be able to handle things. So it's all, like I said, kind of a dance. All right, let's see here. If I missed anything to cover. So this is an example of why symptoms come back. So if we haven't cleared all the heavy metals, or if you take on toxins, again, like in foods, then you may get the headache back. If we eat wheat that has glyphosate in it and GMOs, and it doesn't allow our digestion to work, and then it backs up our liver, and then we have a headache, that's just going to keep going until we stop eating that way. So that's why I say it's important to clean up and not eat certain foods, to clean up mold that's in your environment, whether that's at your workspace, your home, your car. Stop putting toxins in your body, because then your body can't clear it, or it takes a longer time to clear it, or symptoms come back. So I've always enjoyed this quote about gene mutation. So I'm going to read that and then maybe explain a little bit. So it says, all of us have multiple gene mutations. So it could be MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and they get expressed when we have been exposed to toxins and different lifestyle issues. It could be foods, emotions, how you see the world, whether you feel safe or not, traumas, radiation, anesthesias. What we do at Quantum Techniques is we prevent the expression of these genes in our clients. So Bruce Lipton, in the Biology of Belief, he talks a lot about, okay, what is happening? And that's kind of an explanation of his quote, but I didn't have it ready for today, but you think about the double helix of where our genes are in our body. And when we eat certain things, well, think about the double helix. There's that extra coating on the outside is preventing those gene expressions that are the ladders in the middle. Well, when we eat things, we sometimes, let's see if I can get it right here. When we eat things, then we kind of like pull that sheath back so that it exposes those different layers that can be expressed. And then you have a gene mutation. So every time we're working on clearing toxins, pathogens, things that are toxic to our body, we're making sure that that sheath is clear and covering those genes so they don't get expressed. So in the Biology of Belief, that's a lot of what he's talking about. And that's how we do that in Quantum Techniques. So I'm going to give kind of let's see, stop with the screen share. Let's see. There we go. All right. So I'm going to give kind of an example of what I mean. So one Christmas, in Thanksgiving before, my husband's father passed away. And so when we went back for Christmas, we knew we were going to be going back for the funeral. And so we, got ready and packed up and took the big drive, all three of us in the car. Well, when we got there, all of a sudden, after the funeral, both my husband and my son came down with the flu. And I was going to include a picture of the flu of my husband not feeling very good, but I didn't get that ready. He was pretty miserable, Christmas shopping and stuff like that. He's driving around Target with one of those carts and just saying, please, when is it over? So, but I never got the flu. And so it was a really good example of what's happening here? What's going on? So obviously when you get a flu, there are certain things that you can take to help your body start repairing. And those are things like vitamin C, vitamin D, oil of oregano. We have a special supplement that a lot of times we recommend. And all of that helps the body be able to get rid of the pathogens that are affecting it, start getting rid of the sludge that's the flu makes you die off, and get rid of it because it like gets overwhelmed. And that's what all that symptoms is because the body's trying to liquefy itself to get it out. And there's a lot there. So it has to do it a lot. And that's why you have those symptoms. So those are things you can take. But then with quantum techniques, what we're also identifying is what is the body dealing with? How many viruses, how many bacteria? Maybe you came in contact with something. Maybe you touched something. Maybe you ate something. Maybe you inhaled something that made that whole area very weak. And so we can identify what that is because what the body can see, it can heal. So by identifying it, then the body knows, oh yeah, I don't really want that around, or let's clear that. So in the mucosal lining, so now it's that inhalant that's there is no longer there, and it can start working on healing. So as I kind of alluded to, what made their immune systems, my husband and my son's immune systems, weak? Well, it was the passing of my husband's dad, and my son was very attached to my husband's dad. And so there was an emotional issue that was involved. Now, I didn't have as much, let's say, connection as they did. And so I wasn't as vulnerable emotionally to coming down with that. So in essence, what was filling their bucket? Well, we found that mold was filling it. Ingestants were filling it. They had some bites. Pollens were impacting it, and maybe inhalants from a laundry detergent, or when we travel, a lot of times, hotels and stuff like that have a lot of inhalants. So all of that was adding to their bucket, and then they got this, came across the pathogen, and that made their immune system weak. So as I mentioned, flu has a lot of sludge die-off, and so the body has a hard time keeping up with it. And so, like I said, it's sending, more liquid to get it out, and that's what the snot is, and the diarrhea and everything like that. And so it's your body's naturally way of getting rid of it. And when we stop that up, a lot of times the body goes, well, I want to get rid of it. So what does it do? It puts it in tissue. And so that's why we have fat tissue a lot of times, is because that's hidden toxins and pathogens that the body didn't know what to do with, and you didn't want it to go out its natural way of getting out. So our body's doing us a favor, we just don't like the consequences. So as I mentioned, you need to have a good detox system, okay? And if it stops working, a lot of times it's because of an emotional issue or a trauma that's happened. And so you can imagine that with the passing of my husband's dad, there was some trauma there and sadness. And so that kind of made their natural detox system not work as well. It's also important to have with the detox system, to have your glutathione working very well in your body, because that helps your body detox. And so there's a lot of supplements that you can take to help with your glutathione. I personally take ASEA because I find that really helps the body be able to get a glutathione naturally, and helps the body really sustain itself. I'm trying a couple other supplements to see if that's also helpful too. And you can also do, detoxing baths, like Epsom salts and things like that. That helps. And you also obviously don't want to go too quickly with the detox when you have, let's say, a flu or something like that. But if you have a cold or something like that, that's maybe not too bad. You just want to watch it that you're not, going overboard with the detox. You want to have a good balance there. And so when we have a cold or flu, a lot of times what happens is, I mentioned there's a lot of die-off. And so when we work with someone, and me included, when I come down with something, there's like the first initial, okay, this is what I got. And then the body kind of, as you're taking the supplements and helping it get along, there is layers of sludge or die-off that happen. And so we clear that several times during somebody's, let's say, flu or cold issue. And so it could be 5-10 minutes, doesn't take very long, but we just want to identify it so the body goes, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? And it doesn't know where to go. We want to make sure and say, okay, get rid of it, continue to get rid of it, and just kind of keep reminding the body to do that. And I find that that's really helpful in helping get rid of, a cold or flu. Now, if you notice, there's also, obviously other symptoms besides cold and flu, and those also can have sludge die-off. And so if you have any kind of, let's say, Lyme's disease or something like that, you're going to have a layer of sludge die-off that continues to happen. And so it's good to continue to work on that. Heavy metals is another one. If you have lots of heavy metals, then there may be more times that we have to clear sludge. And I find with those two, it's a little bit more not so acute, like a flu or a cold. But we find that, let's say I do a session with somebody 1 week, and then maybe, 3 or 4 days, or the next day we need to clear some sludge. And then, maybe the next week, another little sludge. And then we need to work together again, the next week or in 2 weeks. But we're slowly just getting the body to unwrap and let go. And so we have several different supplements that we a lot of times recommend to help get rid of that sludge quicker and easier, so the body has a good way of being able to handle that. All right, so now I want to get the other. There we go. Here. All right. So this is your pathway to healing. And this kind of a diagram that I worked up, it's a little bit older. And so what we do is we are constantly moving. And so we're always finding new scans and things to do things better and maybe a little bit quicker. And so this is maybe a little bit older, but it still, I think, is quite relevant because it gives you a big picture of kind of like the whole scheme of what I'm working on when we do a quantum techniques treatment. So first of all, we want to make sure that your body is testable. Okay, so a lot of times we want to make sure you're not reversed. And that's, it goes back to the EFT and making sure that you don't have a reversal. But we also want to make sure that you don't have any, we call them spiritual attachments, but a lot of times we got people's energy and we're dealing with things. And sometimes that can be what we call a spiritual attachment that doesn't allow for clear testing. And so we work on trying to find out what emotional burden you're carrying or whose person's energy is impacting you. So once we clear that, that helps me know that, we've cleared that out of the system. So now we're really working with just your energy and what you're dealing with so we can help you heal. So next thing is we like to clear toxins. So those are things like making sure you have, toxins are considered ingestants, inhalants, contactants, and injectants. So everything you eat, everything you touch or has touched you, everything that you have inhaled, and everything that has broken the surface. And that can be, a bug bite. It can be, a shot. It can be anything that breaks the surface. I've had splinters, wood splinters, metal splinters, glass splinters. You can also get a spiritual injectant, if there's somebody that's really kind of coming after you. You can, another injectant that I had, like a burn is also, I consider an injectant. And so those are different things. So I've cleared like burn on my tongue if I take my tea too hot one time. So those are all things that we consider toxins. And so to make sure that first we identify them, what are bothering you, and then just being aware of, it's important to have really good air, food, and water. Because a lot of those things that I talked about, which is inhalants and contactants can be I may say that wrong, but in other words, they add to the load of your body in creating a disturbance in your hormonal system. And so we want to make sure that that's not happening. So the next thing you do is we and clear pathogens. So those are things like virus, bacterias, fungal, mold, candida, however you like to say that, microtoxins, which are mold that has kind of been in an older environment for a longer period of time, you've been exposed to, mycoplasma, parasites, heavy metals, also unknown pathogens. And with our recent environment, that could be both things that we don't know have from what was created in this world originally that's still here, or it could be man-made unknown pathogens that we'll be exposed to every day. And so those are things that we would work on finding out if those are impacting you and clear those. Then we have non-physical issues. So I'm kind of jumping ahead here a little bit. Let's see here from my pathway. Okay, so yeah, so I'm just going to kind of like, I would say, like when we first do a session together, that's what we would do. Toxins, pathogens, and then look at the non-physical. So non-physical things are things like traumas. And they, like I said, mentioned, they disrupt the body's detox system. Emotions like anger, loss of control, isolated, worry. And those that you do the emotion code, that, you know, that kind of is part of that, finding out what emotions are there. And our list is a little bit more extensive, but we're, you know, anything kind of shows up there. Beliefs. So I deserve to suffer. Sometimes we feel like, hey, you know, I did something wrong in my life and I deserve to suffer. It's not a conscious thought of what we want to have, but that's what's reality. And so we want to clear that. Feeling like the world is not safe. And I mentioned that before. And that's typically things that we have to deal with when we're working with a client. It comes up a lot. Punishing beliefs are things like, you know, I don't deserve to have better health. And sometimes, like I said, if you feel like you've done something wrong or that people are judging you, or you know, you feel bad about yourself, then you can have that. Punishing belief is I don't deserve better health. Or I'm not enough is another one. And I'm just giving you a couple examples. Clearing intentions, give an example of that, is to remain separate from the divine. I find that comes up on pretty much everybody these days because we spent the last year trying to distance from others. And so a lot of times we say, well, if others are unsafe, then I want to distance from God too. And so there's a lot of times a block right at the top of the head that I have to clear that intention of I don't to be separate from the divine. So I'm working on reconnecting that so that people can get the divine healing. Another intention was to save other people. See, I should write it down here. Or to solve other people's problems. So a lot of times if I'm distracted by solving somebody else's problems, then I don't have to work on myself. And so it's a way of kind of ducking and weaving. So that's another intention that people could have. So then on our path, then we kind of go to detox. So we're making sure that, you know, the body's ready to detox correctly and all those things are in place. So that's a real typical first scan. And that helps people kind of just get a baseline of where they're at, why they're having those symptoms in that bucket, you know, maybe what a couple of those deeper things are that's causing those symptoms to come back. And then a lot of times once we get that first initial issue over with, then it's like, oh, okay, I'm really feeling better. Hey, I really want to sleep better. So what's going on? You know, maybe I've always had such and such of a, you know, a headache that's always come back, or you know, there's maybe sometimes a deeper issue that we start working on. And so that's where some of these deeper scans can come on because they've been there for a while. And a lot of times what happens, especially in our 50s, is we live our life and we a lot of times try to keep things under wrap or take care of things, but not really deal with it. And it's almost like pushing a ball underneath the water and trying to sit on it. and you do pretty good for a while, and you're, balancing stuff like that, and eventually you can't hold on, you don't have enough energy, and it you get shot off, and it pops above the water. Well, a lot of times our body's the same way. We run out of energy to keep it suppressed, and so then it gets expressed in the form of illness. And so a lot of times that's what happens in the 50s, is that starts getting expressed, and we're wanting to say, okay, well, where is this coming from? So that's where we start going deeper and saying, hey, what are the issues? Did I get bit a long time ago by a tick, and that's an issue? Maybe there's a generational issue of psoriasis in my family, or I have eczema that's, I just figured, oh, that's just the way life is. And it's like, hey, maybe I don't want to have that forever. Maybe there's a deeper root there. So we start looking at some of those deeper issues. And that's when we can find out, hey, maybe we call it different things, like say a linchpin scan. So in other words, there was a time where something happened and it kind of changed our directory. And so we started going this way. So we want to go back to, hey, what was that original insult? And it could be both physical and non-physical that's creating that, to go back to that and then clear it so it can go back on its normal track. And a lot of times that insult will hide things. And so we're finding out what that is. Again, what the body can see, it can heal. A lot of times people have been talking, I talked about, neuroplasticity, where the brain has the ability to shift out of where it's been going constantly and change. That can also be considered a limbic rewire. So we're finding out, what is it that keeps our brain going in a certain direction, and it's hard to change. We call it kind of ruts. And so we're finding out, what is the ruts that keep that going? And we're wanting to shift that. So that would be a different scan that we would work on. And I kind of have, so the linchpin scan is, why did the pattern of these symptoms start? And a limbic rewire is to get the brain to stop functioning in the same pattern or emotions and beliefs that it has been. And then we also have a scan where we work with the cannabinoid system to get the body's own ability to handle pain. And then we have generational issues, which is working on miasms. And those could be things like psoriasis, feeling like a failure. And one came up in our family recently, is always creating an event where you can't win. And so there's something we need to work on. Poverty would be another one, as a generational issue that's a non-physical, Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of those generational things that we work on to get the body to shift almost out of that linchpin thing, but more of a generational issue. Then we work on nutrition. Obviously, this is kind of a flowing thing. So part of clearing toxins is realizing, hey, there's certain foods you shouldn't eat because it's adding to your issue. And kind of going back on that, a lot of times we do find that, you can do all the great tapping and all that kind of stuff, but if you're eating wheat, it's not going to hold. And so once people are doing their tapping and they stop eating wheat, all the things that they've ever tapped on, so like that, actually stick, hold, and they have a profound shift in the direction they want to go. And it's all because of those toxins. So I think that's the benefit of what we do, is we combine the non-physical with the physical to get the body to be back into balance. So we do work with nutrition and finding out, what you should be eating. Because we do muscle testing, we can also find out how good a supplement is for you and whether you should spend the money for it, or how bad something is. Sometimes we find that there's certain medications that aren't so good, but there's a different family that does the same thing that is better for you, doesn't have as many side effects. So that's really, really helpful. We also sometimes find that our church loves to, have donuts all the time. Well, a certain donut place that they go to, it has a lot of glyphosate in it. And so I can look at the donut and say, oh, I'd love to have a donut. I know how good it tastes, but I know I'm going to get a headache from it. So it's like, I don't even want it. But I can go to a different donut place and they don't use that same kind of thing. So it's not going to be as bad. And I think sometimes if you do want a treat, that's a good thing to know. So you can kind of say, hey, where do I really want to, and how much do I want to be affected? So it's a neat way to be able to do that. We work with exercise and finding out, what should you do for exercise and what nurtures you and what helps you be able to thrive. We have several different things that are easy to do, like lymphatic drainage exercises that really do help your body to get back into a healing state and be able to flush all those toxins out. So it's a lot of times helpful to do it at the same time. And obviously sleep. We want to make sure that you sleep really well. And so that's kind of one of my specialties, is making sure that people have great digestion, don't have anxiety, and sleep. Because when you can sleep, you can handle life a lot better. So it's really important. So I have a good way of trying to find out what organs and glands are bothering your system and why, so you can get your sleep back. And obviously then a spiritual connection. Healing does come from the divine, God, and however you understand him. And that's how the healing takes place. We just know the right questions to ask. But it's important to have some kind of spiritual connection that you do, whether it's prayer, reading, journaling, meditation. But it's important to have a really good solid foundation, because that's going to help everything function much, much better. So the tools, or what I want to leave you with today, is about, three things. So the first one is to choose to take an active role in taking care of your health. And, I've talked to a couple of you before this started, and there's going to be people watching this later, but I would love to know what you're wanting to do over the next month to take care of your health. And so you can leave it in the chat if you want. Let me stop sharing the screen here. There we go. But yeah, I'd love to know what it is that you would like to work on over the next month to help you with your health. Whether that is exercise or nutrition or some kind of spiritual practice that you want to start. And it's helpful when you do write it down and kind of tell the world. It helps you kind of like, hey, I want to be accountable to that. So it makes it a little bit stronger. So that's why I said it would be great to have you include that in your chat right here. You can also, for the people that are not on or watching the replay, you can also send me an email. I'd love to know what that is. So that's at jody@quantumtechniques.com. You can send me your goal. Number 2 is, what can you do to prevent symptoms? And that's what Hussein was saying. Hey, I really am looking forward to knowing that. And that is to get rid of toxins in your life. Okay. And that way you can get out of the rut. You can make the changes that you have been trying to make, and they were going to stick better. So that's making sure that you get rid of foods that are toxic, and we can muscle test to find out what those are. Making sure you have good air, so having a good air filter in your house. There's so many times that we are impacted by mold and we don't realize it. And mold creates anxiety. It can create monkey brain. It can create too much tiredness. It just does so many things, and it's individual for the person. And so we muscle test to find out, A, do you have mold? What organs, glands, and tissues is it impacting? And then help you find supplements that are going to get rid of it out of the body. And good water. So it's important to have a good filter system, and Brita is not good enough because they still have those exogens in the water supplies a lot of times, which are chemicals that affect our hormones. So it's important to have a really good water filter system. And I do have a references on things that I found to be helpful for air and water. And so if you want to send me an email at jody@quantumtechniques, I can send you those links to those different products that I have found to be very helpful. And a lot of times, let's say we find one that is like, for example, the air filter I have is top notch. It's like $800. But there are others on the market that aren't as expensive, but they also do a good job. And so you can, send me, ones that you recommend, or you say, hey, how about this one? And we can muscle test to find out what that is. So that's also helpful. And number 3 is to be aware of your emotions and your beliefs and how that may be driving you to be stuck, okay? Or to keep you having some of those symptoms that we talked about. So it's important to, whether it's praying, meditating, journaling, but to be able to have some kind of practice that's going to help you process that. And I'm really trying to get back into journaling. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to work on this summer, get back into journaling, because it really does help me. So you can, so if you also, you can send me an email at jody@quantumtechniques, and I can send you our trauma release code. And a lot of times I do training on how to do the trauma release, but I can send you the code so you can use that to help clear traumas in your life. And I have a mastermind that I literally just finished last week on how to clear traumas and to use that code the most effectively. And I'll be teaching it again, but that would be something that you could listen to be able to know how to clear traumas from your life. All right, so I have a question from Helga that says, do you have a suggestion for a good ongoing daily general detox products one I can use? That one is tough because it is individual for the individual person. But having a good glutathione, I think, is the start to having a good detox system. So the simple one is to take Epsom salt baths, okay? And I haven't found too many people that were bad on that. And just muscle testing is how I muscle test. I find that one, it tests okay for you. So that would be something mild to be able to do. I think also what is helpful to do is to do rebounding, where you're just kind of jumping, and that helps your lymphatic system to work. Dry brushing is helpful. Exercise is helpful. There's a lymphatic drainage that I'm going to be doing a video on this summer to help with that. So you might look for that on my YouTube channel. But for supplement wise, those are things you can kind of do. They're simple. Supplement wise, I do think ASEA, I haven't found too many people that didn't test good on ASEA. It is a little bit expensive because it's a liquid that you're taking in, like 4 bottles, I think, which is about $160 a month. But it really does help you have more sustained energy because of the glutathione and the detox, and it helps your cells be able to give them nutrients in order to be able to help them flush out the toxins. So I do find that is helpful. A step down would be Protandim, which is one of the supplements that I'm trying right now, and it deals with helping the NRF1, I hope I say that right, NRF1 factors and NRF2 factors. I'm not exactly how sure that, like I said, I'm still practicing it or taking it, and I'm finding out how good it is for clients. And I don't know the cost of what it would be and what I've found out yet. So I've only been doing it for a month. So, but that would be a resource. So yes, ASEA is spelled ASEA. So ASEA. And then they usually say ASEA. And I am a distributor for that. It is a network marketing, product. But I have found that I've never had a client so far that has been bad on it. So I feel it's something I can support. So if you would like more information on that, I can certainly send you that. So send me an email at jody@quantechniques.com, or you can also leave your email in the chat. That would also be helpful. So I can do that too. So those are the ones that I know. There's also like a glutathione patch that if you really have issues with your liver producing the glutathione, if you're in a really moldy environment, that's really helpful. That's a little harder to get a hold of, but I could find the information for you to research who in your area would sell that. That was really helpful for my husband for a while. And now he's kind of turned that around, especially with taking the ASEA. And so he doesn't need that anymore. But it was a little patch that you would wear. So yeah, so there's a lot of things out there. I think the things that I shy away from a little bit too much is things like, now I'm not going to remember the name of it, like drops or tinctures that are known to say, okay, detox. I can't think of the name of it right away, but sometimes they test good, sometimes they don't. Zeolite, that's what I was thinking, zeolite. So sometimes people really like that, but I have found that it's individual in a person. Sometimes people can be toxic to it. So that's why muscle testing is so helpful for that. Okay, so I have another question here. So it is there a sludge treatment? Oh, I wish. There really isn't. And it doesn't take long for me to clear sludge. It takes 5 to 10 minutes when I'm working with a client just to find out what the sludge is made of, why it's not leaving, and then tell it, okay, leave out of these organ glands and tissues. It takes literally 5 to 12 minutes, but it's just a matter of making sure there's no blocks to die off and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting, a couple of years ago, we didn't even do sludge die-off treatments, and now it's just become almost like a necessity. So it's been very helpful. Although at the same times, I do remember there were times where I was trying to clear something and it would just kind of go, I'm like, why do I have to keep this coming and coming? Well, what it was sludge, and we just didn't know what it was. So your second part of your question is ASEA something that has to be an automatic monthly order? Yes and no. Let me take a drink of water. Depending on what you're trying to solve with ASEA, a lot of times what they say is you're supposed to take it for about 3 to 4 months to be able to see how the body reacts. So you can see the shift over a period of time. Same way with Pertandem. And some people, when I'm doing QT and ASEA at the same time, I shifted quite quickly, and but I also don't have a tremendous amount of stuff I was having to work on either. But people, I've got a client on it right now where she did have some lines issues, and so she was working on clearing all of her symptoms related to not sleeping and stuff like that, and so she's taking it, and it's really been helping her. It's neat to see the energy shift in her. So yes, it's good to take it for 3 to 4 months to be able to really see the difference and to get the sludge die off and stuff like that. You can buy it, per just, a case, and not have an automatic monthly. And I was bothered by the automatic monthly first myself. But then when I realized what the product was and what they were trying to do, I was like, oh, wow, this is really great. So I do the monthly. But you can just buy it for 1 month and see. But like I said, it usually doesn't do the best that way because you really can't see over just 1 month. It's kind of an accumulative, depending on your issue. So Hussein says, is sludge the same as mucus? No, it actually isn't, because sludge can be anything. It can be a headache. It can be diarrhea. It can be, snot and mucosa lining, draining. It could be liver hurting. It could be a headache. It could be not sleeping at night because your cerebellum is overactive or underactive. It could be your nervous system. So it really depends what you're trying to solve and how it gets manifested in the body and how the body's trying to get rid of it. So that's why it's not one of those things that's just really kind of easy to clear, but it's important to clear. So the email again is Jody. So it's JODY and then at quantumtechniques.com. And I'll go ahead and enter it in the chat so you guys can write it down. There you go. So now you have a visual of it. I'm such a visual, and so I attend a lot of these webinars, so I'm slowly learning how to kind of maneuver everything. So it's great. All right. So again, my mission is for you to have the freedom to choose your God-given way to take care of your health. And I want you to get better sleep. I want you to have better digestion, to feel happy and joyful each day. And that's only the beginning. And when you have the mind, body, spirit connection, you're able to get back the life that you deserve and so richly deserve. And so it's a matter of not feeling disconnected anymore, because you're feeling that connection and that just that wholeness that you have. So like I mentioned, I just finished a mastermind to help people over their traumas and help them kind of learn the trauma code, learn how to use it, and really see that shift that you can have. I'm going to be teaching another mastermind this fall that is about teaching how to muscle test. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'm going to be doing that probably late September, early October. And it's $47 to do that. We do have at Quantum Techniques a first-time client session for new clients. It's a special of doing $300 for 60 minutes of testing. And so it kind of takes you through kind of like that first part of what we talked about with that pathway, helping you find the toxins and the pathogens that are impacting you and making sure your body's in a good space to be able to detox. So if you haven't been a QT client before, that would be something that you could do or to tell others about that are needing this help. So you're welcome to subscribe, and I'd love you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Jody Colegrove at Quantum Techniques. And our company also has a YouTube channel, which is just Quantum Techniques. I have a Facebook page to join, which is Health and Happiness Through Muscle Testing. And our company also has a Quantum Techniques page where we share a lot of information on there too. And I actually have a Facebook group that is Health Puzzle Academy. And in there I share a lot of this information about these Zoom meetings, the masterminds, information, articles, all of that. It's very helpful. So I wanted to kind of open it up to questions. We're kind of doing a little bit of chat here, but if you do have some questions, you're welcome to kind of raise your hand, let me know. Let me answer this one as you kind of think about your questions that came in from Helga. So did you talk about sleep at the beginning? Came in late. We did a little bit, but we didn't cover it extensively. We just kind of said that sleep is important, and I have a way of being able to find out if you're not sleeping, why, what organs are involved, what's impacting those organs that's making you not sleep. It could be bites, because bites make your adrenals start being in fight or flight and kicks in your adrenaline, and so that can happen. Liver, if you're not detoxing well, then the liver makes you up in the middle of the night. If you're breathing, your lungs are dealing with something. If you have inhalants, like if you have bad laundry detergent on your sheets, then your lungs are going to be impacted, so that's going to make you wake up. Gallbladder is another one that can impact you. If you have too many toxins, it's not processing well. So all of those kind of add to the whole sleep picture. It's also very important to have really good blood sugar. So in other words, if you're not eating good protein throughout the day, your blood sugar and not being balanced is going to keep you up at night too. Let's see if there's something else here. I'd like to know, okay, so your issue is about waking up between 3 and 4 a.m. That is your lungs, okay? So that's a breathing field. And it also can be the fact that you also may have inhalants. So it could be that you have mold in your environment, or like I mentioned, the sheets that are impacting that in the lungs. I'm dealing with an issue now where I'm having to work outside. I'm getting a lot of pollens. And I'm also getting bit. And so a lot of times I'm waking up in that between 3 and 4 a.m. Dealing with the pollen inhalants and then the bacteria in my sinuses and the pollens. So it's a fine tuning. So I'm doing all the things that you are recommending and stopping blue. Okay, that's a good another point, is stopping the blue light at night, because that will impact your dopamine and your serotonin. Yeah. So if I were just to kind of say, your lungs are functioning at a 1. So there's definitely some inhalant that's impacting you. I do get that there's some mold in your environment, so that would be something to look at and clean. On my YouTube channel, I have a lot of things about cleaning up mold. So that would be a good one to look for the different subjects that I cover on mold. And I have a product called Mold Killer that's really helpful for taking care of that. So does anybody else have any questions from stuff that we covered today? You're certainly welcome to unmute yourself and we can talk about that. Okay, so Hussein has another question here. Cinnamon is recommended to lower or stabilize blood sugar levels. However, in my case, it fuels higher blood sugar levels. What are your thoughts? That is a good question. I know cinnamon, they recommend it for being able to help with weight loss and things like that. So that's probably part of the stabilizing the blood sugar. My son is really bad on cinnamon also. It really bothers his stomach, and so he can't take it at all. And every time he keeps trying to add it back in, he has a flare-up. So it's just sometimes it's not good for someone, and something that is good for others is not good for others. So yeah. Do you do a 30-minute clearing session too? Yes. Okay. So let me explain. So we have the QT special, which is 60 minutes for $300, and that's to give you a good baseline on what's impacting you for the symptom that you're presenting for us. After that, when you call in and whether it's clearing sludge or working on another issue, we don't have a specific time that we work with you on. We're actually testing you per minute to find out what the issue is. So that's why I said sludge we test only 5 to maybe 12 minutes and find out what the issue is. Let's say that you first came in and you had a headache, okay? Then we cleared sludge. And then next time you call, you say, okay, now I'd like to work on my sleep field. So we test you, and that would maybe be, let's say, 20 minutes. And so my rate is $67 a minute. So if we work together for, let's say, 20 minutes on a sleep issue, I'm getting out my nifty calculator. So that's $133. So it's not going to be as much as that, and that's going to be kind of like half, like you're mentioning. But at this time, we find that all the things that we try to cover in a session to really get to the root of an issue, 30 minutes isn't enough time. Way back when QT started, it was 30 minutes, but we've added so much since then that really, especially like the detox and everything, that really helps get at the issue. So you have a better response after that first hour. So that's why it's really helpful. Yeah. All right. So anybody have, yes.
May I ask one more question?
Sure.
Okay. Is muscle testing the basis of everything that's quantum techniques?
Good question. I would say yes, but we also are. I mean, I wouldn't say that we use intuitiveness, but in other words, we worked with so many clients that I have an idea of what is happening, or I have an intuition of where it's going. In other words, like with the sleep issue, I know that those certain organs are involved when you tell me, hey, I'm waking up between 3 and 4. So I know where to look. And so, but we're also muscle testing to find out why that is. So yeah, I would say it's a lot of it, but it's also knowing the right question to ask to muscle test. I remember watching somebody that said, oh, they picked up a candle and said, okay, yeah, this candle doesn't test good for me against my hormones. Okay, that's great, but what if does it test good against, the mucosa lining? So a lot of times we're not only testing something for the area coming in, but we're testing for the whole body. And it doesn't always show up. Like, for example, for me, resveratrol is recommended as a very good herb to help with joints and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it doesn't test good against my right or my left knee. It creates too much like cartilage entanglement. And so I can't take that particular herb. And I've tried different ones, but it's still the same thing. So that's an issue. A lot of times, we can test for the whole body, but if you notice a symptom, we test herbs for that specific symptom, or we're testing what may be causing that specific issue for that area. And so it helps us dial in a little bit instead of looking at the whole elephant per se. And that's why I like to teach muscle testing, because it really helps empower you to say, hey, what is my truth of what is good for me and what's bad for me?
Mm-hmm. And if I may add one final question as well. Thank you so much. You mentioned something earlier about reversal when it comes to muscle testing. Could you expand on that a bit?
Yes,
if possible. Yeah.
And I'm not going to give names because I can't quite remember, but they found that most things have to run in a clockwise direction to be in a healing state. And so if you do counterclockwise, it's going against it. So an example would be our bodies are like a battery. So we have a positive charge on the top of our head. We have a negative on our feet. So we also have a positive charge on the back of our hand and a negative here. So when you put your hand on top of your head, you're connecting a negative and a positive, and you'll test good. If you flip it around so that you've got positive to positive, you will not test good. So that's an example of a reversal. And so we want to make sure that you're not reversed when we first work with you. And we typically find that there's 2 reasons why you are in reversal. One is that you are dehydrated, so you don't have enough liquid in order to let the energy system of the body function well. The other is you are in an area that has an inhalant. So that can be mold, or it can be a laundry detergent on your shirt. And so we have to get you to move or take that off in order to be able to have good testing. So that's an example of how toxins can reverse you. A lot of times I give the example of, we get up every day and our energy system and our immune system says, great, I'm ready to face the day, let's get going. And then we put our shirt on with our tide and it goes, okay, I'm gonna take all the energy I have today to get past this inhalant. You take care of your immune system because I don't have enough energy. And that's not what we want our bodies to do. We want our bodies to be able to show up every day, not have toxins, and to be able to handle whatever we get comes at it.
Super. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Jody?
Yes.
Oh, I learned too. I can't remember whether it was through Gary Craig or Dr. Nelson, Bradley Nelson, but sometimes when it's called psychological reversals,
Yes.
that means a part of our subconscious mind isn't on board for healing at this time. So a part of us has a secondary gain for having whatever it is, and they're not ready to heal yet.
Yes.
So that's another reversal.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
It can be corrected by your, that can be corrected by this too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you for chipping in on that because that is true. You
Oh, sure.
a psychological one. Yeah. I worked with a gentleman one time where, we start EFT, he says, I deeply love and accept myself. And he said, I can't say that. And I was like, oh, so sad that,
Yeah.
that's that psychological reversal.
Yeah.
Well, great, guys.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's good to meet all you guys and be able to share with you. And I just hope that all of you have a blessed rest of the day. We will have a replay on this, and so you can look for the announcement. And like I said, I'd love you to join. One of the ways that you can keep in contact with us to help learn more about this information. And so for me, the best way is the YouTube channels, because I try to add to that, put the Zooms on it and things like that. And so that's Jody Colegrove at Quantum Techniques. And I probably should I'll put it in here, Jody Colegrove. So that's the YouTube channel. All right, I'll put YouTube on that. Okay, and then my Facebook page, I'll just put Facebook. That is the Health and Happiness Through Muscle Testing. Okay. All right, and then you can also do the Facebook page of Quantum Techniques. And then, like I said, I have that Facebook group page also that's really helpful because I share lots of things and want it to become a really good ability to dialogue back and forth with health issues, things you may have questions on, things you come in contact with or would like to share. So it's like an ongoing dialogue, and that's what the group is about. Okay. Well, good. I'm so glad you guys were able to join me today, and I just always enjoy sharing what I've learned, and I'm hoping that any of this information will help you, whether it's sleep better, have better digestion, know how to test toxins, or know even where to look on why the symptoms keep coming back. And I think just, to me, asking the question why is so valuable because it really helps us find that answer so we can live the best life possible. Well, great, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Blessings.
Bye.
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 All the best to everyone. Goodbye. Thank
Bye.
you.